ton of people charging their Teslas. There's way more than that right there. In the middle of the night here at Wawa. Never knew of a Wawa that had Tesla charging stations. First one I'm aware of. Anyway, wanted to tell you about, this really bothers me. This goes on in poker rooms all the time. If a player is away from the table, has a seat locked up somehow, usually with chips on the table, sometimes just a seat opened, someone puts down his or her like phone or player's card and leaves. However long the player has, that's when you pick them up. If you have 10 minutes and the player's been gone 10 minutes, you pick the player up. If some places it's with chips on the table, like an hour. If it's an hour, when it's been an hour and that player hasn't returned, you pick the player up. So many times we ask to get players picked up and the floor will say, oh, there's seats open, there's no list, doesn't matter. Yes, it matters. It matters a lot. Let me show you why and how this works with some graphics. Okay, imagine 3 poker tables. Here we go. There's 3 of them. The red square is where the dealer sits on each table, and we're playing 9-handed. So let's pretend that a black filled in circle means a player is sitting at the table and playing. So this table on the left, 9-handed, and it's full. Table in the middle, 9-handed, full. Table on the right, 9-handed, and all 9 players are sitting there. It's full. Now, it'll be important in a second, but let's pretend, or let's say that a white circle means the player is gone. The seat is open. There's no card protector. There's no cell phone. There are no chips. The seat is totally open. Okay, so we're in this scenario where 3 tables, all of them are full. If someone walked up right now, there's no seat. That next new player would need to wait. But let's say this table in the middle has the 3 seat open. There you go. White circle. They're only playing 8-handed, a seat is open. Now let's say someone leaves the table on the right. So the table on the right is only 8-handed also, there's a seat open. Also the table on the left loses the 3 seat. The table on the left is only 8-handed, and there's 1 seat open. Okay, so now say that the 8 seat on the table on the left, someone has been gone for a long time. That's what gray means. Occupying the seat but not there playing should be picked up. So if people at the table call the floor over and say, can we get this guy picked up? Usually what the floor says is, oh, there are open seats, and or there's no list. Doesn't matter. But it does, because this table on the left is only actually playing 7-handed. That guy in the 8 seat, the gray circle, should be picked up. They're only playing 7-handed. It should look like this. The floor should pick his chips up, and then that table on the left has 2 seats open instead of 1. And that matters because when it looks like this, when it's gray, when the guy is in Bravo, and when the floor is not picking him up, every table only has 1 open seat. So the next new player who walks in either gets a choice. The floor says, every table has 1 open seat, pick whatever you want, or the floor randomly assigns one of the 3 tables, but they're all equally likely. This should not be happening because the table on the left really has 2 open seats. It looks like 1 each, white circle, white circle, white circle, but it's actually 2 open seats on the left, 1 in the middle, 1 on the right. So when the next new player walks into the poker room, the floor should send them to the table on the left because they actually have 2 seats open. You pick up a player, whether there's a list or not, whether there are other open seats or not. So you pick players up. You always pick players up. This very rarely happens. I'm talking about this because a great dealer here at the Horseshoe Baltimore, she was a dealer here in 2020 when I was playing here a ton. She's still here, great dealer. There was someone who was gone way too long, and every table had seats open. And she called the floor over and said, he's been gone too long, can you pick him up? And the floor said, well, there's seats open, there's no list. Do you still want me to pick him up? And she said, yeah, because the next player who walks in, you're going to send to another table instead of this table. This player's not here anymore. Yes, you pick players up for the good of, for the room. I guess it doesn't matter if there are seats open. You know, the next player who walks in will sit somewhere, and the poker room got another player. So if you're the poker room, it doesn't matter. For the players in the poker room, yes, it matters a lot. You pick players up when they've been gone too long. I don't care how many open seats there are. I don't care what the list is like. I don't care how many seats are being played. Someone's been gone too long, you pick the player up. Now, I do understand my disappointment with this rule is biased, because I can only be aware of when someone's been gone too long and not getting picked up when that player is playing on my table. There must have been plenty of times in my life where this thing happens on another table and the floor says, there are seats open, there's no list, I'm not going to pick them up. And then the next player who walks in comes to my table instead of going to the other table where this is happening. I wouldn't know about that because I'm not on the other table. So it happens, and it's annoying. It must happen where it actually has benefited me in the past and we got the next player when we shouldn't have, but I'm only aware of it when it's going on my table. So it's pretty annoying. So it was great that the dealer, it was about a week ago, at the Horseshoe Baltimore, got the player picked up. Actually, there's a few dealers who understand this idea very well and get players picked up even when there's open seats and there's no list. That's what you do. I understand the floor has to do something. Like, you have to fill out some paper, you have to grab the chips, you have to write down some personal information. It helps if the person was using a player's card and is logged in at the table, because you could go into Bravo and look up the person's name and other stuff. But that's what you need to do. A lot of people just say, oh, no list, open seats. It doesn't matter. Player's been gone too long, you pick the player up. And remember, rice is a spoon food.